Three words to describe myself would be family, fishing, training. I used to fish with Terry Hearn a lot, and we are good mates. And although he's younger than me, he was catching fish like Mary and British records when I was sort of like still really sort of trying to learn the game, like, you know, and always looked up to Terry, and I still do. He's a very good angler and he's a very big influence in fishing to everyone. Scariest moment on the bank. I don't really ever get scared on the bank, if that's what it means, but like, you know, I'm not scared of the dark or nothing like that, but I've had a few near misses falling out of trees, big trees, where I've literally fell 30 foot and been hanging there by a branch or ended up in the lake, so that can be pretty hectic, pretty scary at times. I've been carp fishing now for, well, I started carp fishing for I joined the army, and I would have been probably 14 years old at the time. I then joined the army and obviously it went on hold, and I must have been carp fishing over 30 years, 35 years. I started carp fishing from being over the lakes as a young lad, mainly over Hainault Lake, where there was some pretty good carp anglers back in the day, like sitting there in all their old-fashioned kit, and I used to watch them and think, oh, I want to catch fish like that. And it kind of all sort of started from Hainault, really, just watching these specimen hunters over there with rods right up in the air, little yoghurt carton rings on the bottom, massive great big landing nets. And I remember seeing a guy one night catch a 24-pounder, and that was it for me. I just wanted to catch them fish. Other interests beside the carp fishing is, I'm a massive fitness fanatic. I train practically every day. Every day I'm not fishing, I'm training. I'm always watching or trying to watch what I eat. I'm always on some sort of diet. Anyone that knows me will tell you that I've lived on chicken and rice most of my life. I like to train and keep fit. And obviously my fishery is a massive hobby of mine, just looking after that, and that takes up pretty much all my time. If I had one day left to go fishing, I'd probably fish right on my own doorstep, outside my house, so that I've got all the amenities on hand when I need them. My worst fishing related injury, now you're asking. I'm pretty renowned for hurting myself, so I've probably had quite a few over the years, but trying to think, worst fishing related injury, I don't know, falling out of trees, sticking hooks in my fingers, baiting needles in my legs. There's loads, too many to mention. Best three anglers I've fished with or alongside: my good mate Jim Hepper, a very good angler. He's he's an inventor. He invents lots of little gadgets and little bits and pieces. He's been in the game a hell of a long time, and he's still teaching me bits and pieces, and you think you know quite a bit, and then you come across someone like Jim Epper, and he's got so much to tell you and teach you. So he's been a big influencer. Fishing with Terry for quite a few years over Toll Pits and Sutton and other waters. You do sort of learn stuff off everyone that you fish with, but massively off of Terry. My favourite moment in my carp angling career, it's another hard one, because whenever that PB or whether that target fish, for me mainly target fish, when they go over that net and you just feel so relieved, and it's just such a feeling. And I suppose my favourite moment's always my last target fish that rolls over the net. The strangest thing I've caught a carp on, well, for me personally, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but I've been fishing when someone's caught fish or a fish on something a bit different. A mate of mine over Hainault years ago caught a fish called the tunnel fish on a dead bait, hooked fairly and squarely in the mouth, and this fish had already been out earlier in the day on like a boilie, and then later on in the day got caught on a dead bait. We all know they do cannibalise and they do eat other fish, but a little dead bait is something I've never really seen before or since. 3 things I'd never go fishing without. Now, you've got to have a phone these days. I know I hate myself for being on it as much as I am, and everyone else probably is, but I do need my phone. It's my lifeline to everything else back at home. Also my charger, I need my charger, otherwise I've got no phone. But mostly I have to have my coffee. I love my coffee, so I've got my AirPress and a nice coffee in the morning. Without it, I'd be walking up and down the bank. Any fishing regrets? I do normally try to stay the course. If I'm after a target, I always see it through, and sometimes I regret not fishing certain waters when I had the chance, like Yateley. I really wished I'd have fished there when I very first went over to the car park lake to fish for Heather and all the team that was in there then. I did go later on and caught the big orange and a couple of others, but I wished I'd have stayed where, with it back in the early days I went on there. That sort of thing really, just going on lakes that at the time I didn't stick with and I moved on. I wish I'd have stayed. My favourite bits about carp fishing has to be being at one with nature, being outside. I've always been an outside person ever since I was in the army, ever since I was a kid. I just love being outside. I've probably spent most of my adult life outside, and basically being on the bank every morning's another lovely day, and I just love being there. If there was one thing that I would change in carp fishing, would be it'd just be nice. We've got so much social media at the moment, and a lot of the mystery is taken out of it because everything's there for everybody to, and back then it was a little bit more secretive, and if you had something going and you and your mates had something going on the bank, it was brilliant times, and you really made the most of it, but now with social media it's quite rare, so yeah, I'd sort of a little less social media would be good. Tea or coffee, obviously for me, I haven't drunk tea for years because I don't drink milk and I couldn't drink black tea, so I drink black coffee, love it. I don't eat biscuits, so I haven't got a favourite biscuit. If I was to be eating, it'd probably be like a McVitie's, what are they called, the digestives. Favourite takeaway has to be an Indian. I love Indian food. I spend most of the winter out in India, and their food is the best in the world. Funniest moment on the bank. I could write a small book on funniest moments. I've got a great bunch of guys that I've fished with and have fished with over the years, and we're always pranking each other and mucking about. Off the top of my head, I'd like to think of the best one, but I'm a bit of a prankster, and when we fished Sutton at home, we used to have little places where we used to crash out for the night, just so that we can do a night and link it up to the next day. It was late finish on Sutton and early start, and I remember a couple of my mates were camping, or not camping, but sleeping up one night in their car in the middle of this little, off the main road in a little copse of woods, and I knew they were there, so I went over there about 2:30 in the morning and crept up with them, and I had this little alien thing that all lit up, all the tentacles coming off its head all lit up, and it made all these Space Invader noises, and I can remember my 2 mates just fast asleep in the front seats of the car with their heads on the windows, and I just put it on the front windscreen and set it off, and they were just freaked out, like the engine started up and they were panicking to get out. I don't know what they thought it was, but it made me laugh. But stuff like that just used to go on all the time. One fish I'd like to have caught, past or present, there's more than one. Heather, big regret not catching that, weren't my fault, she passed on sadly. And the Cotton Farm, Big Common, I know you asked for one, but there's a few. The Fat Lady died while I was there, there's loads more.